Jennifer from Fiber Flux. Welcome back to week 2 of the 2017 Fiber Flux Fall Crochet Along. Super excited that all of you are joining us, and we are making the Forest Splendor Shawl. This is going to be a beautiful shawl with lovely colors and a really easy kind of lacy stitch that's going to kind of give it some elegance. So last week we talked about the supplies and the colors that I'll be using. Just to recap quickly, we're going to be using a 6mm J hook. I am using a combination of different yarns, and part of the reason why I did this is because I want to encourage you to kind of like use what's in your stash and use different things. As long as, if you look at the yarn label, it is a 4 or a medium weight yarn on the yarn weight scale, which all 3 of these are, you'll be just fine. I'm going to be using Red Heart Soft in Guacamole, Red Heart Super Saver in Gray Heather, and Red Heart Super Saver in Real Teal. These are all really nice colors. Everything's machine washable, very easy care. I just really like all the colors together. Special shout out to Red Heart Yarn for providing the yarn for the crochet along. So extra special thanks to them. All of this yarn can be found on the Red Heart site and in your local craft store. It's very easy, kind of accessible yarn to find. You'll also need a tapestry needle, a tape measure, and a pair of scissors. I talked about all of this in more detail in week 1, but I just wanted to recap a little bit with the supplies. So today we're going to be focusing on the stitch. So the stitch of this is worked in a few rows. It's pretty easy stitches, and it just keeps repeating itself. So we're going to go through the stitch today, and I'm going to start with this teal color. So let's slide a little bit of this stuff out of the way, and I have the yarn is all ready to go. For those of you using the Super Saver, I wanted to point out there is a little diagram on the back of the yarn label, and if you want to pull from the outside of the yarn, it shows you where to find that. If you want to pull from the inside of the ball of yarn, it shows you where to do that. Now you can see this red tail coming out of the center. See that tail? And it's exactly where it said. Now you might need to dig a little bit, and if you're having some frustration finding that end, just pull from the outside. It's perfectly fine. So I'm going to start with the teal. That'll be nice and easy to see for everyone. We're going to work a few rows of this and then switch colors later on in week 3. But for today, we're just going to be focusing on the stitch itself to get you going with that. So our stitch sequence is 5 rows, which we're going to learn all 5 rows today, but to complete the rest of your shawl, you're going to work rows 2 through 5 until it's the desired length. We won't be repeating row 1 again, but we are going to learn all 5 rows, and then I'm going to show you how to keep repeating. So what we're going to do is begin with our slip knot and our starting chain first. Okay, so to begin, we're going to put a slip knot on our hook. So wrap the yarn around your fingers to make a loop. Bring the yarn behind the loop, reach in with your hook, bring up a loop, and tighten. Okay, so our starting chain is 57. Now let me go into that in a little bit more detail. To make your shawl wider or narrower, I'm going to give you the multiple. That way you can adjust it as needed. I wanted to make this nice and wide and so you can wrap it around yourself. So the multiple of our wrap or shawl is 4 plus 1. So if you're not familiar with what multiples are, that is simply 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 and so forth until you get it as wide as you want it to be, and then 1 more chain. So multiple of 4 plus 1. If you want to learn more about multiples, check out my October Q&A where I talk about this in more detail because I was getting a lot of questions about what multiples were. Okay, so we're going to chain 57, so that worked out to be 56 plus 1 chain with our multiple. So 57 total chains. So to make a chain, wrap yarn around hook and bring it through the loop, okay? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, and 57. So here is our starting chain, and you can kind of get an idea of how wide this is going to be, give or take. So again, if you want to change the width of this, if you want to crochet along with us and make a scarf, for example, just work a multiple of 4 plus 1. 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4, and then add one more chain onto the end, you know, as many 4s as it takes to get the width that you're after. So we're doing, you know, a chain of 57. Another thing I wanted to mention is we're using the J hook. You want to make your chain fairly nice and loose because it will draw in at the bottom if your chain is too tight. I know a lot of people ask about that and potentially have problems with that. So grab the next size hook up, which happens to be the 6.5 millimeter K hook. Work the starting chain only with the K hook, and then you can switch back down to the J hook for the remainder of the project. Okay, so for row 1, we're going to work our first stitches in the 6th chain from the hook. So this loop here does not count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So in the 6th chain from the hook, we're going to work a double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. So to make a double crochet, wrap yarn around hook, insert the hook into that chain, bring up a loop, 3 loops are on the hook, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the first 2 loops, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the last 2 loops on your hook. Now chain 2, 1, 2, and then in that same chain, we're going to work a double crochet. Just like that, okay? Next, we're going to skip 3 chains, 1, 2, 3, and in the chain after that, we're going to do the same thing. Double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. Okay, so double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, all in that same chain. We're going to do this all the way across until we only have 3 more chains left at the end. Okay? So skip 3 chains, 1, 2, 3, and in that chain after that, work your double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. So double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, all in that same chain. Get a little bit more yarn here. These center pull balls of yarn are really helpful when you're working on a bigger project like this. Okay, skip 3 chains, 1, 2, 3. In the chain after that, do the same thing. Double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. Chain 2, double crochet. Count 3 chains, 1, 2, 3. In the chain after that, do the same thing. Double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. So it's going to look, kind of looks like some V stitches, but with an extra chain in the middle there. So skip 3 chains, 1, 2, 3, and in the chain after that, once again, double crochet, chain 2, and a double crochet. Skip 3 chains, 1, 2, 3, the chain after that, double crochet, chain 2, and a double crochet. Skip 3 chains, 1, 2, 3, and in the chain after that, same thing, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. Skip 3 chains, 1, 2, 3, and in the chain after that, do the same thing. Double crochet, chain 2, and a double crochet. Skip 3 chains, in the chain after that, double crochet, chain 2, get some more yarn, and a double crochet. Skip 3 chains, 1, 2, 3, and in the chain after that, double crochet, chain 2, and a double crochet. Skip 3 chains, 1, 2, 3, in the chain after that, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. We're getting into the home stretch here. Skip 3 chains, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Let me do that again. And then in the chain after that, double crochet, get some more yarn, chain 2, and a double crochet, all in the same chain. And then you'll have your 3 remaining chains. So go into the very last chain and work a double crochet stitch. Okay, so row 1 is complete, and it should look like that, just sort of like a V pattern or a zigzag, if you will. Okay, so next we're going to move on to row 2. I'm going to stick with this teal for a little bit, and we'll change colors later on down the road. Okay, so row 2 is super easy. We're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and turn our work. So for this row, all you need to do is work 4 double crochets in each chain 2 space. So the chain 2 space, remember from the previous row, we did that double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, and it creates this space. So that's in the written pattern on the Fiber Flux blog, which you can find the link to that below. The chain 2 space that I'm referring to is this space here. So in each one of these chain 2 spaces, we're going to work 4 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Just like that, right into that space, okay? Hop over to the next space, work 4 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, we're just going to be doing this all the way across. Row 2 is pretty easy, okay? Hop over to the next space, work 4 double crochets in that same chain 2 space, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Next space, 4 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Next space, 4 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Next space, 4 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Next space, 4 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Next space, 4 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Next space, 4 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Next space, 4 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're getting in the home stretch here. Next space, 4 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Next space, 4 double crochets, 1, 2, 3. Get a little bit more yarn here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Last one, 4 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we're going to work to finish off the row. Remember that turning chain that we did to transition from row to row? We're just going to work a regular, just 1 double crochet right into that turning chain space to finish off the row. So row 2 should look kind of like this. We're starting to get a little bit more of a solid look with some, like a filigree bottom, okay? So let's move on to row 3 next. Okay, so for row 3, what we're going to do this time is chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the reason we're doing a chain 4 instead of a chain 3 is when we turn our work, so let's go ahead and turn, this extra chain is going to form part of this first V that we're going to make of this row. So we did some solid double crochets in this last row. We're going to move back to this filigree design. Okay, so in this first space that you come to, before that first group of 4 double crochets, we're going to work a double crochet into that space. So see that first space you come to? Work a double crochet into that space. Then we're going to skip the next 4 double crochets. Let me get a little bit of yarn here before we proceed. So we have lots of yarn. Okay, so we worked our first double crochet. Now we're going to skip over these next 4 double crochets that we did in the previous row, and we're going to work in this space in between. So see these 2 groups here, this space in between, we're going to work a double crochet, chain 2, 1, 2, and then a double crochet, all in that same space, okay? So see how it creates a V in between that grouping, okay? So skip over the next 4 double crochets, and in that next space in between the 2 groups, do the same thing. Double crochet, chain 2, and a double crochet. Skip over the next group, and in between that next grouping, do the same thing. Double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. I pulled too much yarn. I got a little tangle. There we go. Okay, skip over the next group, and in between those next 2 groups, same thing. Double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. Go to the next space, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, skip over to the next space, double crochet, chain 2, and a double crochet. Next space, double crochet, chain 2, 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 double crochet. We're getting to the home stretch here. Now we're at the turning chain at the end of our row, and what we're going to do into that turning chain space is work 1 more V, but it's going to be slightly different. So what we're going to do is work double crochet, chain 1 this time, and a double crochet. Now notice before we did two chains in between our V's, but we want to mimic this first one of the row. Remember how we did that extra chain I was explaining creates the first V of the row? We're kind of mimicking this at the end. And if we put too many chains, it would cause the piece to kind of veer outward. Okay? So row 3 is complete. So we're starting to get a really nice established lacy pattern here. Okay, next is row 4. Okay, row 4 is also another easy row. So what we're going to do is chain 3 and turn. 1, 2, 3, turn our work. Now, remember that V we created with partially with our turning chain? Into that space, that first V of the row here, we're going to work 2 double crochets into that space. Okay, so 1 and 2. And then for the rest of the row, get some more yarn. For the rest of the row, we're going to do the same thing we did a couple of rows back, and that is in the center of each one of these V's, all the way across, we're going to work 4 double crochets in each one of them. Okay, so in that first V, that chain 2 space, work 4 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, just like that. Okay, next space, 1, 2, 3, and 4 double crochets. Next V you come to, work 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Next V, 4 double crochets once again. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, moving right along. Next V, work 4 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Next V, 4 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Next V, 4 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Next V, 4 double crochet. 1, 2, get some more yarn. 3, and 4. Next V, 4 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's looking really nice. Next V, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the next V, same thing, 4 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And our last V of the row before we finish off the row at the end there, 4 more double crochet. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Oops, I got my scissors tangled up there. And then we're at the end of the row. So in that turning chain space, at the end, you want to work 3 double crochets right into that space. So 1, 2, and 3. Just like that to finish off the row, okay? So basically, we're doing the same thing over and over within the row. It's just how you start and end each row that makes a difference. That's why there's, you know, more than one row repeat of this. Okay, so for row 5, we're going to grab a little bit more yarn to get us started. Okay, so we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And just as a side note, row 5 is the last row of our pattern repeat, okay? Then it repeats again. So what we're going to do is chain 3 and turn, and then we're going to skip, see these 3 double crochets that we just did? We're going to skip those, and then we're going to work our V in that first space before that next grouping. So remember, the V is a double crochet, chain 2, and a double crochet. Just like that. See how we're reestablishing that V again, okay? Hop over to that next space and work another V. Double crochet, chain 2, and a double crochet. Next space, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. Next space, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. See how it's starting to, you know, kind of repeat itself. It's just, again, the way you begin and end each row. It just changes a little bit. Okay, next space, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. 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 And the next space is double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. Next space, double crochet, whoops, chain 2, double crochet. Next space, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. Grab a little bit more yarn here. Next space, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. We're getting to the end. We're in the home stretch. And then that last space there, see that those last 2 groupings, work 1 more V, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. And then to finish off the row, because we're at the end, we're just going to work 1 double crochet into that turning chain space. So locate that space where that turning chain is and just work a double crochet right into the turning chain space. Okay? So our stitch pattern repeat is finished. Now I like to always kind of straighten things out when I work my rows so you can see everything. Sort of like some impromptu blocking there. So our pattern, this is our stitch sequence. It's complete. So to finish the rest of your shawl, you're just going to repeat rows 2 through 5 until your shawl is the desired length, or whatever you're making. If you want to go wider and make a blanket using that same multiple, remember we talked about the multiples at the beginning of the video. If you're making this a blanket or you're making it a scarf, you just want to go till it's the desired length, rows 2 through 5, okay? So keep going, and then next week we're going to talk about changing colors. So you can get a little bit of work in before our next video and learn how to change colors. Now some of you may want to just keep going if you're doing a solid color shawl, or if you already know how to change colors and don't need that part of the tutorial, you can just keep going, adding your other colors of your stripes. But for next week, we're going to do that. 3 stitch repeats of the teal, because I have the most yardage of the teal. And then I'm going to do 2 stitch repeats of the gray and 2 stitch repeats of the green. So 3, I'm going to do rows 2 through 5 3 times with the teal. Then I'll switch to gray and do rows 2 through 5 twice with the gray, and then rows 2 through 5 twice with the green, if that makes sense. So I'm going to keep working, and then when we rejoin next week, I'm going to show you how to switch colors, or if you're doing a solid color shawl, how to join a new ball of yarn on, because that's important to know too. If you already know how to do this, or you have a preferred way of doing it, just feel free to move ahead. It's totally fine. You go at your own pace. This is a low stress kind of project. And also next week, I'm going to show you how to weave in all of your ends. If you're doing lots of colors like I am, you're going to have some ends to deal with, and that's fine. So I'm going to show you how to do that as well. Now, before we conclude, I just wanted to mention that to please share the colors that you'll be using on Ravelry, show any work in progress. We love to see images. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to hop in our Ravelry group and ask, and also at the bottom of this video as well. The Fiber Flux community is always really helpful and happy to help each other, which is a wonderful thing to see. So thank you to all of you who jump in and help each other. Meanwhile, I'm going to keep working my teal stitch repeats, and when we rejoin next week, we're going to switch colors or a new ball of yarn, whatever you're doing with yours. So I will see you next week. If you haven't joined our Ravelry group, the link is below, so check that out as well. I will see you next week. Happy stitching. Bye everyone.